but it's crazy. Like, he had one hand on the... Oh my god!
What happened, babe?
Oh my god, what is he doing? Babe!
Babe, what happened?
Welcome back with another banger. Hit that like, sub it up, don't react, bounce. Hit that like, sub it up, don't react, bounce. Y'all feel me? Let's run it.
They're about to do some shit in LA that's about to shake the world. So I know you heard of underground cities. And I know you heard people say there are civilizations living underground. Well, allegedly in LA, that's what they got planned. Look at this shit.
So if LA couldn't get any creepier with all the problems with crime and homeless, I ran into this billboard on this lot. So this is a vacant lot for construction. And it says, live life deeper, 144 stories underground. You may never go outside again.
What? That shit just said, you may never go outside again. So now you gotta ask yourself, who are they building these places for? And with all the shit that's going on right now, it's real convenient that they're building a space underground. You have the United States just running to Venezuela, take their president. And in doing so, this put the world on notice, almost putting the bullseye on the United States back. And they're talking about building underground cities, an underground apartment complex, somewhere where you'll never go outside again. My question is, why wouldn't you be able to come outside again? Then I jump down the rabbit hole. And if you do the same thing, then you'll see allegedly people are already living underground. We're gonna stay on topic though. Why are they building these buildings? Why are they building these buildings underground? I'm out.
Sounds like Fallout 74 IRL. Shout out to Expensive Talk. That's wild. He should have scanned that QR code. Let's see if he could have got more information. If you've seen this in your hood, comment down below. Let us know what's going on. That's wild.
This looks beautiful, but it's incredibly dangerous. Drone footage from Michigan City shows adults and children walking out on a slippery ice shelf along Lake Michigan with waves crashing just feet away. In the video, one man nearly loses his footing before scrambling back to safety, while a small child slips on the ice beside an adult. Officials warn that shelf ice may look solid, but it's unstable and can break or shift without warning. Public safety leaders say it's not worth the risk. Stay on solid ground. No photo is worth your life.
On everything I love, I just heard a group of kids over here laughing. On everything, bro. I just heard a group of kids laughing. Where the hell the kids at? What the fuck? Bro, I know I'm not tripping, bro. I just heard a whole bunch of kids laughing, bro. You hear that shit? What the fuck? Bro, I'm in the mall by myself. Where the fuck is that shit coming from? I know y'all heard that shit. Bro, what the fuck? I'm about to get up out this bitch. What the fuck is that? What the fuck is that? Staring right at me. Right there. My heart beating fast as fuck, bro. I'm scared as fuck, bro. There's a person right there in a red shirt right in front of me. Right there, y'all see him. There's a person right there. What the fuck going on? He just standing there. What the fuck? It's like he just standing there, bro. Bro.
couldn't make out the guy in the red shirt, but I would be like, hey, can I help you? But the sound of the group of kids that's laughing is insane. Yeah, if I was a security guard, I'd be asking for relocation as soon as I got back to base. I was deaf. My man was scared. Can't cap, I'd be scared too. Shout out to Scary Encounter.
Signals were detected.
Operations were denied.
The truth moved anyway.
Follow the data. Like, comment, subscribe to the React Files for the next data drop.
Can someone explain to me what the heck is going on with our food supply? And why do I say that? Because a woman opened up a can of this Quaker Oats 1-minute quick oatmeal that she purchased at Walmart and noticed some worms crawling around inside the container. You heard what I said, worms crawling around inside the container. If you haven't seen the viral video, take a look at this. Look at this.
Nobody
Watch.
From Walmart.
You could see them start popping out as she's watering it. Watch.
Let's see what's going on. Scoot up. They running.
Look on the top of the container. Look all around.
That's too much. How too?
Look at them crawling out of the top of the container.
It's falling. Oh.
Look at this.
Oh no, don't come up this out.
Oh my. No. Oh no. This is both disgusting and disturbing at the same time. But who's to blame for this? Is it the store that sold it? Or is it the packaging company for Quaker Oats? Any way you slice it, if you have this in your home, open the container, take a look inside. Make sure nothing is worming around, so to speak. As I said from the very beginning, it is very difficult to trust anything we purchase in the store these days. Let me know your thoughts in the comments on this, and as always, I'd love to hear from you.
He's absolutely right. Shout out to the Jode69. It's becoming very difficult to trust the stores these days when it comes to the food. Like, this one might top the cake so far, and I've seen a lot.
Motherfuckers! Welcome to this motherfucking line!
Y'all have been asking me for an MH370 update, and I finally have one. And no, not just the fact that the search for the plane has been resumed, but actual evidence. The data I'm about to share with you was never analyzed before, but thanks to Jean-Luc and his team, who painstakingly went through the raw ATC radar data from the night of March 8th, 2014, we now have new evidence that confirms past info, but also reveals new info of what happened on that night. Okay, so at 1640 UTC, MH370 is taxiing from Gate C1 at Kuala Lumpur International Airport, heading towards runway 32. At 1641, the aircraft officially takes off. Everything is normal. 1 minute later, ATC requests MH370 to climb to 27,000 feet. The radar data shows the plane immediately complies. So far, so good. By 1701, ATC requested MH370 to reach its cruising altitude of 35,000 feet. Again, the data shows MH370 immediately complies. Now here's where it gets interesting. From this moment until the plane reaches the waypoint called Igari, there's absolutely no indication that anything is wrong. No deviations, level altitude, steady flight path. For years, people speculated that there must have been some kind of struggle in the cockpit to gain control of the plane. But this data shows that's not the case. The transponder was in normal mode right up until the very last second, recording the plane's location perfectly. And then at 1720, everything goes dark. All transponder data is lost 62 seconds after the last VHF message. But here's what's critical. The last two aircraft flight history recordings, also called the ADS-B, show something strange. flight level data was missing while other data was still being updated. We now know this was because someone physically shut down the transponder from the cockpit. When you switch a transponder from the normal TARA position to standby, it has to pass through a setting called Alt RPTG off, which means no altitude reporting. And that's exactly what the data picks up. So someone in the cockpit manually switched off the transponder. Right after this, the plane begins its turn toward Igari, like you see here, which was consistent with an autopilot turn. Perfectly normal. But after this, MH370 goes dark and the plane can only be tracked through primary radar, specifically primary military radars. The raw military data was never published, but the track coordinates based on this data were released, which has allowed researchers like Jean-Luc to reconstruct MH370's trajectory. And here's what they found. MH370 was now invisible to all other radar and aircrafts. For example, the TCAS, the system that allows planes to see other planes in their vicinity, was also turned off. And more than likely, MH370's lights were turned off too. Between 1722 and 1724, military data shows MH370 made a sharp U-turn that would have been impossible to achieve on autopilot. The plane was now being manually flown by someone. And this theory was tested and confirmed by Captain Patrick Blelly using Boeing flight simulators. At 1730, military radar picks up MH370 again, heading back towards Malaysia. This led to speculation that maybe MH370 was turning back to KL Airport, but the data rules that out. After MH370 passes south of Penang, there are now at least 2 planes, a Singapore Airlines flight and an Emirates aircraft within clear sight of MH370. The Emirates flight UAE 343 gets closer to MH370 than any other aircraft, less than 30 nautical miles away. If the UAE crew had physically seen MH370 in the air, but not on their TCAS, that would have been immediate grounds for reporting back to ATC. But the UAE flight never called in any report, which means the lights on MH370 were almost certainly off. Someone in that cockpit didn't just turn off the transponder, they turned off the collision avoidance system, they turned off the lights, they manually flew the plane into one of the most remote parts of the ocean. And we still don't know why. If you want to track the Armada shift surge for MH370, the live tracking link is in our MH370 video description. And if you want a part 2 conversation about this new evidence with Jean-Luc himself, let me know below. And make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel because we're coming out with a very special episode on Amelia Earhart this week.
Wow. I wasn't expecting to hear all that. Plane went completely dark, manually. Shout out to Till Science. Make sure you go check out their YouTube channel. I definitely want to hear what they have to say about Amelia Earhart. Now the question is, where did the plane go?
Nothing beats a Jet2 holiday. And right now, you can save 50.
Here's a question. What compels a people to go to the most remote island on Earth and create over 1,000 of these stone dudes? First off, how do you get to the island? Second, how do you get the big dudes off of the volcanic mountain? Because the small guy on perfectly flat ground is really fun, but El Gigante in the mountain has something else to say about that. And there's 400 still in the mountain. They were carving all of them at the same time. Why are they buried? They didn't intend to be buried. The destroyed megalithic wall that nobody can figure out how to build even today might be a clue. And where did they get the technique for how to do this? Because there's quite a few teachers that could have taught them. Maybe it was the people who built Göbekli Tepe because the backs of the moai look exactly like the pillars in Göbekli Tepe. Or maybe it was the Hindu because their language looks exactly like the Indus Valley civilizations. This is a brand new 3D scan of the island that you can explore yourself. It's a really fun rabbit hole. I've been looking at this for like an hour now. If you already own Hidden History, I'm updating the links and putting this one in there as well. Or click that link. Everything is in there because I love you. And it's only weird if you make it weird.
Let's explore the weird. Shout out to baseforge.us. Yeah, weird is accepted around these parts. Very interesting, fascinating information right now. That radar is amazing. Easter Island. How do you even get there?
They told you olive was food. They told you olive was for kings, athletes, for lamps that burned in the dark. They never told you it was a code. The olive tree is one of the oldest living sigils planted on Earth. In ancient Greece, it was the first gift of Athena herself, a tree that could outlive wars, outlast dynasties, and bend light into matter. The Hebrew anointed their high priests and kings with olive oil, not just for ceremony, but because it was believed to seal the soul into divine contract, binding the physical body to an invincible oath. In old Mediterranean witchcraft, the scattering of olive branches wasn't just to summon peace, it was a counter curse, a living spell to push out discord and invite harmony into the land. But there is a forgotten secret. True olive wood, when burned under the right planetary hour, was believed to open the Green Gate, a hidden doorway between the fertile forces of Earth and the dreaming powers of the stars. Few spoke of it aloud, because walking through that gate meant you could ask the soil itself to remember you, or to forget you. And the olives themselves? They were eaten in rites to amplify the magnetic field of the body, to make the heart a stronger beacon, to summon fertility, vitality, or raw attraction, depending on the phase of the moon. This is not a kitchen herb. This is a living alchemy. Next time you see an olive tree, remember that you are standing in the shadows of a survivor, a guardian planted by gods, witches, and kings alike. Nothing sacred comes without roots, and no roots run deeper than the one that remembers the first true oath between earth and flame.
A tree that can outlive wars. Shout out to Azazel9. I think I have a newfound love for olives.
Okay, so we all already know that diagnoses are spells. We've talked about this before. It is the conventional medical machine performing spell casting on you, because that's how powerful the mind is. But let's read a little bit from A Fool's Wisdom by Stephen Young, because the way he writes this is beautiful. The word sorcery comes from the Greek word pharmakia, meaning use of spells and drugs, poisoning, and so shares a common root with the word pharmacy. Pharmaceutical medicine is real sorcery, actual witchcraft, and when people succumb to it, they can become dependent on these drug spells for life. You go to the hospital with a sore tummy, you come out with a lifetime dependency on some expensive, toxic, unpronounceable petroleum-based chemical that is strictly controlled and could be fatal if overdosed. You can't live without it. The doctor said so. You see, it's not just a drug. There's always an accompanying spell. This witch doctor has cast a spell that you must take the drug to stay alive. If you take the drug and believe in its power, then you are effectively under the spell. This is sorcery. Though the culture will have you believe that sorcery is magic, like shooting lasers out of your eyeballs, it's actually something far more sinister. It's about tricking people into poisoning themselves, then profiting from the chaos that ensues. Remember, the alchemist is guided by nature and the word of God, but the sorcerer is a destroyer of nature and worships only himself. The sorcerer plays God.
And that is from the book A Fool's Wisdom by Stephen Young. Sounds like an interesting read. Shout outs to Holistic Hannah.
The strangest part isn't Charlie Kirk. It isn't even TPUSA. The strangest part is the lineage behind it. Lieutenant Colonel Michael Aquino wrote a book called Mind War while stationed at the Presidio in San Francisco. Not a self-help book, not a political rant, a blueprint for psychological warfare, mass persuasion, narrative control, cognitive terrain. And Aquino was also an open Satanist. He never hid it, never denied it.
Aquino and his wife, you are a lieutenant colonel in the United States Army.
Correct.
Now, and how does the Army feel about you being head of the Temple of Set?
The Army has known about my religion for the entire span of my Army career, which began in 1968. And there was a reasonable amount of curiosity, as there has been all the way along, with what exactly is this strange and unusual thing. And I've talked about it in much the same way that I've talked here today on your show about it. And other than that, the Army has paid very little attention to it, the same as it would to anybody who was, say, a follower of Hinduism or of Buddhism or any other slightly unusual religion today.
So you just go about your Army duties and it's fine and okay? Yeah.
Now here's the part people skip past. Aquino didn't write Mind War alone. His collaborative with retired Major General Paul E. Vallely. Fast forward. Vallely sits on the board at Turning Point USA. So take a step back. Strip away the merch, the slogans, the crowd noise. What is TPUSA actually doing? It's not just debating ideas. It's persuasion at scale. Changing minds. Moving groups. Steering perception. And when the same people tied to a psychological warfare playbook are embedded inside a movement built to shape mass belief, coincidence stops being a useful explanation. This isn't about symbols. This is about methods. Because Mind War doesn't care what flag you wave. It only cares that you don't notice you're waving it.
Yo, check out that connection. Shout out to Dr. Rooster 1. Yo, them people in that live studio audience look like they was shook. And he was open about it. That's weird.
I'm not so sure why y'all keep saying that we kidnapped the president of Venezuela. Like, Edmundo Gonzalez has been an asylum seeker in Madrid, Spain since September 7th of 2024. Oh, you don't know who that is. My bad. I forgot. Y'all don't read anything for yourself. You just regurgitate whatever the democratic machine puts out and you repeat it on command. Lucky for you, I have the time. So here's what actually happened. Venezuela held a presidential election in July of 2024, and Edmundo Gonzalez won by a landslide. But Nicolas Maduro did what dictators do, and he didn't leave office. Instead, he issued an arrest warrant on September 2nd for the man who beat him, which forced Gonzalez to flee Spain on September 7th. Because that's how real dictatorships work. You lose the election, you refuse to give up power, you criminalize the person who beat you, and then you force them into exile. So to all of you people out there marching in the street yelling, "Free Maduro, return him to power," you do realize that he stole that power. That is who you're simping for. And if you actually paid attention, which we all know you don't, you would notice something else. The only countries that are upset about this are Russia, Iran, and China. And that would be because Maduro sold Venezuelan oil to Iran to help them dodge sanctions through shadow tankers and fuel swaps. He worked with Russia to move oil and money outside the global banking system. And he used China to lock Venezuela into massive debt deals that gave Beijing long-term leverage over their energy sectors. All regimes that benefited directly from Maduro staying in power. The American media propaganda machine isn't going to explain that, is it? Because Trump started a war by kidnapping the Venezuelan president sounds better for headlines. Even though it's completely false. But they're allowed to lie to you, and they're counting on you not checking. Brought to you by Obama. It's just fun. Have a day.
That's what's up. That's some good info right there. Trying to shed some more light into what's really going on. Shout out to Salty Tattooed Mama 1, giving us good breakdown.
We rebuke you, Satan, in the name of Christ. In the name of Christ, we rebuke you, Satan. We rebuke you, Satan. We rebuke you, you demon. You demon. You evil demon. You demon. You demon. You demon.
Oh my God.
We rebuke you in the name of Christ, you demon! Jesus is king! Jesus is king! Jesus is king! We rebuke you, you demon! You! Go home, bitch! Go home! Go home!
They say you have seized Venezuela for the oil. Yes, this is true, that there is that which has been brought to the forefront of this earthly battle. But the enemy has sought and was seeking to bring war and to bring conflict through Venezuela and to control the oil of the earth. But the spiritual oil and the natural oil does not belong to the forces of darkness or to those who thought that they could bring a one world order. This is my reset. And the oil of the natural and the oil of the spirit is mine, says the Lord.
If you are 18 to 25, you are cooked. You going to World War III. If you are 26 to 39, you are still cooked because the age cap's at 39. You going to World War III. If you have ADHD, you are cooked. You are going to World War III. If you have diabetes, congratulations, you ain't going to World War III. If you've ever been put in a mental facility, congratulations, you are not going to World War III. If you are in college, I'm sorry, you are cooked. They actually want you more for the draft because they want to put you in a specialized position. You are going to World War III. If you have a master's degree, you are cooked. If you dropped out of high school, you are safe from World War III. They don't want you. If you are a felon, you are not going to World War III. Now is the best time to be a felon. If you are LGBTQ, I'm sorry, you are cooked. You are still going to World War III. Now, if you're transitioning, you are safe. You are not going to World War III. If you are your only mother's son, I am sorry, you are cooked. You are going to World War III. If you are a woman, you are only half cooked because men are required to go first, but at any time Congress can change legislation if they need more people. If you have kids, you are going to World War III. But if you're actively pregnant, you are not going to World War III. If you have major depressive disorder or severe anxiety, you got to be able to prove, it got to be documented, or you are cooked. If it's not documented, you going to World War III. Like and comment for part 2.
I think bro actually thinks people are going to show up if they get drafted. Shout out to advice from Lewis. Definitely something to think about.
Why is Donald Trump so fixated with Greenland? And why are people worried that that fixation might see the dismantling of NATO? Greenland is the largest non-continental island in the world, but it's home to only around 56,000 people, most of them the indigenous Inuit population. The local economy is reliant on fishing. It's a semi-autonomous territory of Denmark. So why is it in the eyesight of one of the most powerful men in the world? The short answer is military strategy and, of course, money. It's also home to one of the most strategic US bases. The Bodefique space base is critically important to the US because of its positioning just 1,000 miles from the North Pole. It allows unparalleled missile warning and also space surveillance capabilities. This is because of the understanding that if Russia were to fire an intercontinental ballistic missile at the US, it would probably use the polar regions. Greenland is fast becoming the center of a superpower contest over the Arctic. But it's not just the military significance of Greenland that has got Donald Trump interested. It's also wealth. Greenland has vast untapped deposits of rare earth minerals that are really important for making things like smartphones, electric vehicles, and even military weapons. That market right now is dominated by China, where nearly 60% of rare earth minerals are mined. Donald Trump obviously would like to change that with Greenland. But with this increasingly hostile language, he's putting himself directly against NATO partner Denmark and also his natural allies in Europe. European leaders, including our own, have issued increasingly strong statements warding Donald Trump off from a takeover of Greenland. That's become increasingly concerning with unilateral action taken in places like Venezuela. He's previously spoken about buying Greenland, and now he's talking about having it. The US argues that as the most powerful member of NATO, they should have control over this massive strategic asset. The question is, what would be the impact of that? Certainly, going up against Denmark could see the total breakdown of NATO partnerships.
It's looking like the United States is about to purchase Greenland. That's right, Secretary of State Marco Rubio just told Congress that that's what the United States intends to do. So how much would that cost us? Well, if the United States gave every single person in Greenland $1 million, it would cost us $57 billion. And that would be 1/3 of the cost that the United States has spent on the war in Ukraine. Except in exchange, the United States would own one of the most sought after and strategic locations in the world. It's safe to say that if this happens, we are literally watching the world map be redefined. And this news comes just one day after Greenland's Prime Minister Nielsen said, "We are open for business with the United States. So, are we about to have the United States of Greenland? And how much do you think the purchase price is going to be? And do you support it? As always, I want to hear what you think about all of this down below.
$1 million per resident. That's a hefty price to think about right there. And it's only a third of what's been sent overseas. And they open to doing business. Yo, that's wild. Shout outs to WFF News. Hey, if the people are with it and it's a fair deal, what can you say?
Bruce Lee was murdered because he was bringing Eastern spirituality into Western scientism. Like, imagine believing that the most disciplined and supreme martial artist of his time would die from a simple headache tablet. The idea is ludicrous. The official reports claiming that he died from a cerebral edema is only a half-truth. He was poisoned. The odds of him dying from that medication is millions to one, even according to the official narrative. They even went to lengths to claim that he died from hashish, or cannabis, which has never happened to this day. In reality, it's probably soft disclosure that his cannabis was laced. He was developing too much influence and he threatened the power structures being put into place. Trouble began to emerge in Hong Kong with the film Enter the Dragon, between Bruce Lee and the Chinese film producers that quote-unquote made him, notably Raymond Chow, who is rumored to be the prime suspect of his death. So the conflict escalated when Bruce Lee accepted the lead role in that film. He was drawn to the way that they portrayed martial arts and the deeper philosophy behind it. He felt called to the US to influence a different outlook of the Eastern world, which he surely has. See, Bruce couldn't be controlled. The triads pressured him to sign exclusive film deals, but he refused. Raymond knew he was losing Bruce to the US studios, thus losing his golden goose. And Bruce was disrupting the power structure of the martial art film industry, and that made him a target. See, he was even planning to create his own film company, using many stuntmen such as Jackie Chan, and that would have eventually dominated both Hollywood and the international box offices. And they couldn't let that happen. So his first collapse would occur in a Hong Kong movie set, likely due to laced hashish, which he used often. And when he went to the hospital, doctors found no cause and gave him a clean bill of health. He then spent months in Hollywood with no issues, but the moment he returned to Hong Kong, he mysteriously dies in the hands of the same producer, Raymond Chow, and Betty Ting. On the day of his death, Betty stated that Bruce wasn't feeling well, so she gave him Equigesic, which is just a combination of meprobamate and aspirin, only for him to never wake up again. So it wasn't just a pill, but a combination of whatever was laced in his cannabis that was fatal. Bruce Lee held many spiritual concepts of self-mastery, free thought, and unlimited human potential that started influencing the Western mindset. But again, they don't want a merging of science, spirit, and mind in a single individual, because if that happens, a person will start asking too many questions they don't want asked. And if you think his death was an accident, what about his son Brandon Lee? One of the only few people in Hollywood history to be shot and killed on a movie set despite blanks being used. What are the odds that both father and son would die in such highly unusual, improbable ways? The truth is clear. Whatever the true cause was, Bruce Lee's death was no accident, and neither was his son's Brandon. What should be remembered is how Bruce Lee lived his life is far more important than how he lost it.
Rest in peace to Bruce and Brandon Lee. I'm a huge fan of both their work. Shout outs to Electric Being, Enter the Dragon, The Crow, both iconic films. Very sketchy how it all went down.
That doesn't even enter my consciousness. That line within itself has so much power and so much meaning that the people who know, but the people who don't know need to understand. That doesn't even enter my consciousness, meaning that your failure that you are envisioning is not going to be projected onto me. That your limiting beliefs are not my limiting beliefs. Because if you know, you know. Whatever you feel on an energetic, emotional level becomes a frequency. So if you take on someone else's limiting belief, that's also you creating that frequency within yourself to attract that externally. Because if you understand how consciousness is, you can adapt other people's consciousness by them projecting their fears, their doubts, their failures onto you. So this is why you must guard yourself whenever someone wants to bring in their limiting beliefs onto you. You must have this energy that doesn't even enter my consciousness. That my conviction and energy within myself is at an all-time high, that anything below me will never affect me. This is why you must protect your energy and your frequency. This is why you actually must protect yourself from even telling people about your dreams, your desires, your goals, whatever it is you are working on. You don't want to adapt the frequency that they have to ever sabotage your frequency, because all it takes is that limiting belief knocking on the door and you opening the door for it to actually intertwine with your frequency to sabotage your reality. So again, this is why you must embody the energy that doesn't even enter my consciousness.
That doesn't even enter my consciousness. Facts. Shout out to Zoe is the Truth. Spitting them big facts. Don't let other people's frequencies sabotage your own.
You got to win the midterms. Because if we don't win the midterms, it's just going to be I mean, they'll find a reason to impeach me. I'll get impeached. We don't impeach them. You know why? Because they're meaner than we are. We should have impeached Joe Biden for 100 different things. They are mean and smart. But fortunately for you, they have horrible policy.
And that's a wrap. Hope you enjoyed the deep dive. If you enjoyed this video, please consider to give it a like, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to hit the notification bell. Shout outs to all the reactors. Thanks again. Till next time.